Hey guys, just doing another quick video of some figures I've painted up in the last few weeks. So these figures in front of you are some more Hanoverian troops. I looked through my collection and my figures I painted up and realized I was shockingly absent of Hanoverian troops, especially considering how many Hanoverian troops were at Waterloo. So I started making up for that the last month or so. I'm trying to get some figures painted to compensate for that. So these figures in front of you are the figures to depict the Hanoverian Field Battalion Grubenhagen, I think it's pronounced. That unit was in square along with the Duke of York's Field Battalion for the majority of the day at Waterloo. They essentially went into square along with the field battalions Verdun and Bremen. Almost as soon as the assault was first started on La Haye-Sainte, because they spotted Dubois' cavalry who were supporting La Haye-Sainte, and upon sighting the cavalry, I moved immediately into square and to defend off the cavalry and support the attack that was happening at La Haye-Sainte. So these figures here are depicting sort of the makings of one corner of that square, eventually to be extended far beyond that, along with the Duke of York's field battalion. They were both light infantry units, so they were in green tunics, very similar to King's German Legion light troops or British light troops. So they're painted up, with green trousers, green tunics, gray trousers, black belting, stovepipe, infantry style shakos, green hackles. These guys were armored with muskets. And what these figures, what figures these actually are? These are all hat figures, but there's actually two different packs here. These guys here are the hat Brunswick troops, which I've just converted slightly by just chopping down some of the plumes, because the Brunswick troops in the pack have these gigantic feather horsehair plumes, which aren't right, so I just chopped them down and give them more slightly slimmed down look, but otherwise just simply a paint conversion there, which I don't think looked too bad. But the majority of these figures here are actually the hat Austrian Grenzers pack, I think it's pronounced. It's one of their newer packs. And it's actually a really nice pack. These figures here at the front, who are all charging bayonets, are actually really nicely sculpted, and you get a decent amount of them in the pack. So they actually work really well for depicting troops in square, defending off against cavalry. So they actually paint up really nice, and then there's some more the hat Brunswick troops in the back there. And I think for being two different sculpts and two different packs, I think they actually sort of blend together pretty well. It's not overly noticeable that it's two different sets of figures and two different sculpts. In the back there, you can see the officers once again have the distinctive gold and yellow sashes that Hanoverian officers wore, as opposed to the crimson red ones that the British officers wore. And yeah, again, I think they look really good. I think so. They certainly will pass for a distance and at this scale. And again, I need more troops to give a bit of variety to my British and Allied troops. So I've kind of been doing a lot of paint conversions, sort of making do with what's been commercially available. So, at least to me over here in Canada. Anyway, so that's those figures there. Over here, actually, before I do that, similar to those, are some figures here. You guys had already seen those ones there. These were the Prussian Fusilier conversion I painted up to be the 1st King's German Legion Light Battalion. I just have simply painted up another section there. Historically, these guys were positioned right beside these guys. And when the assault on La Haye-Sainte began, they went into square a slightly later than Hanoverian troops do, like only a few minutes. So what these guys will historically be showing are just going to be, a few companies in closed column about to move into square. So that's just a couple sections there with, obviously there's going to be multiples added to them to, make up the proper 10 companies. But here's just a couple sections again to show them sort of in closed column, about to move into square. And again, I think they look they're pretty good. I added, again, these figures have all been washed and with the new technique I was talking about to give them a little more shading and a little bit more depth. And I'm liking the effect. It just sort of dulls everything down. It doesn't just make it sort of nice, crisp, clean color, and it sort of dulls everything down. It gives it a bit of shading, especially things in like the creases of the legs and the folds of the fabric and stuff. And I'm just liking it. I think it gives them a little bit more realism. And it doesn't make them look quite so clean and pristine as they would not have looked at Waterloo. Anyway, so that's some of those troops, so lots of British light infantry troops. Over here, these aren't any new figures, they're just some figures I've sort of rebased. You'd seen those ones before. These are the hat Dutch infantry that I converted to be guardsmen, and these are some more figures. These are will be depicting the square of the 3rd Battalion 1st Foot Guards, which went into square at Waterloo when the French cavalry started to advance on the British center. So these guys here are just going to be, again, the makings of that square, with obviously more figures to be added, and that way I can extend the square out and beyond, much larger than the size. Whether that means hopefully maybe one day making a 1-to-1 scale, like one man every one figure for how many figures men were actually in the battalion, or I'm not sure how many figures I'm actually going to be able to get, but so I want to make at least be sizable enough to look convincing. These troops here, these are the artillery figures, the British infantry pack, the later British infantry pack. Slight conversion to some of them, because some of the figures are sculpted with the waterproof shako covers, and some of them are sculpted with the proper Belgique shakos with the cords and hackles. So to convert those ones, I want them to all the figures to have the same look of having the waterproof covers. So I just simply chopped off the hackles and the cords and added a little bit of PVA glue to try and hide that alteration, sort of smooth everything out. And I think, especially from this scale, it looks fine and convincing enough. And now they all look the same, which is nice. And then these figures in the back, those are some of the call to arms troops. Really nice figures. I just think for the price of them and the amount you get in the packs, it's not really worth it. That's why I haven't bought a lot more of them, because the call to arms figures, as far as I know, are not that cheap. And you only get like 32 figures, and of those 32 figures, they're divided between two different types. They're divided between guardsmen and light infantry troops, and so you only get 16 of any one unit in a pack. So for the price, it's not really worth it. I would buy more if I found them cheaper, but anyway, they're nice figures. But anyway, so that's my British square so far, guys. And the last thing I painted, just in terms of British troops, was these guys here. These figures are depicting General Ponsonby, who was the commander of the Union Brigade of British Heavy Cavalry, which consisted of the 1st Dragoons, the 2nd Dragoons, or more commonly known the Scots Greys, and the 6th Enniskillen Dragoons, which most famously at Waterloo, along with the Somerset's Brigade of Heavy Cavalry, charged the French columns and of Delaron's First Corps, along with the Pack and Kemp's infantry brigades. Ponsonby did not live through Waterloo, as is commonly shown in the most famously shown in the 1970 film. He was speared down by some French light lancers when the Union Brigade went far too far and started attacking the Grand Battery. So he did not live through Waterloo, but this is just showing him giving some orders to his unit commanders, along with his aide right beside him. His aide is just wearing a slightly converted Scots Greys uniform with a chapeau bras. These are the conversions from some artillery figures. I think it looks pretty good. Let me know what you guys think. Anyway, and then in terms of French figures, I just quickly painted up some the artillery of French infantry, the drummers and ensign. I just had some lying around and I wanted to get them painted up out of the way. And then these figures here are some French cavalry I've painted up. Those guys here are these Vevda Dutch Lancers, which you guys had seen before. I just had some more figures that I had left to paint in that set, so that set's now done. Beautiful figures. I would gladly buy more. They're just sometimes hard to come by over here in Canada, but I will gladly buy more. And then these guys here are the those figures I showed you last time. These are the Mounted Guard Grenadiers, the French Imperial Guard Cavalry. I'd actually paint those up quicker than I thought I was going to. You can see there's the drummer, the trumpeter, and the officer there in the front. I tried to get a bit of variety. They were issued with all black horses, so to try and get a bit of variety in all black horse, I tried to do a bit of dry brushing and sort of experimenting with that to see how it would look. And then again, they've been washed, and I think it looks pretty good, all things considered. There's 3 packs there, 36 figures in total. This unit along with the Empress Dragoons were the 2 units that made up the Heavy Cavalry, the French Imperial Guard Cavalry, and then the French Dutch Lancers along with the Mounted Chasseurs or Saval were the 2 units that made up the Light Cavalry of the French Imperial Guard Cavalry. All those 4 units I've all started and have varying amounts of each. The mounted guard chesters will be the largest, hopefully by the end, because historically they were the largest. They had, I think, something like over 1,000 troopers at Waterloo. It was very large for a cavalry unit. But anyway, that's what I've painted up so far, guys. I actually think those guys actually look pretty well. I'm not the biggest fan of hat cavalry, which was what these are, because with hat cavalry they only sort of have sort of 4 poses, so you don't get a lot of variety, and the horses aren't very well sculpted. But I think I'm actually sort of impressed. I did a bit of conversion sort of with some of the arm positions and head positions, just some very basic twist conversions to give a bit more variety, which I actually think turned out pretty well. Again, I'm actually impressed with how these turned out. They looked a lot better than I thought they were going to. Anyway, let me know what you think, guys. Again, that's just them, which look pretty good. Anyway, so that's what I painted up so far, guys, in the last couple weeks. Let me know what you think. Any more suggestions for what I can use for Hanoverian troops, let me know, because I'm trying. I just want to get a bit of variety with my figures. And yeah, I mean, that's what I have painted up. Let me know what you think so far, guys, and I greatly appreciate any comments, and I'll post more updates as they come along. Cheers, guys.